My family ignored me after my house burned down, then partied at a lake house bought with my inheritance. When they came back for money, a paper trail and the law turned their perfect weekend into ruin. 47, male, watching some Netflix crap with my wife and kid when we hear this crackling sound coming from the garage. Not like popcorn crackling, more like, I don't know, bones breaking. My wife looks at me with that "what the heck was that?" expression. And I'm already moving toward the sound. I open the door to the garage and it's like opening an oven. A wall of heat hits me. Smoke rolling out like something from a movie. The whole back wall is just gone. Orange flames eating through everything I'd spent years building. My workbench, my tools, boxes of Christmas decorations, my kids' old bikes, all of it turning into ash. Get out now. I'm yelling at my wife, grabbing our 7-year-old who's still asking what's happening. She's already on the phone with 911, dragging him toward the front door. I stayed behind for maybe 30 seconds, scanning rooms like I could somehow teleport our entire life to safety. You know that moment when your brain short circuits and you think you can save a couch from a house fire? Yeah, that was me. By the time I made it outside, the garage roof was collapsing. We're standing across the street with half the neighborhood, watching firefighters blast water at what used to be my home office. The garage shared a wall with my office. Computer, files, photo albums, everything gone. Son's asking where his PlayStation went. My wife's just holding him, not saying anything because what do you say? But here's where my brain kicked into damage control mode. While everyone else was watching the show, I started documenting everything with my phone. Video of the flames, photos of the damage, timestamps on everything.
Insurance companies are sharks, and sharks smell blood in the water from a mile away.
The fire chief came over while I was filming the collapsed garage. Sorry for your loss, man. Any idea how it started? The electrical panel was old, I said. Been meaning to upgrade it. Truth was, I'd been planning to replace that panel for 2 years. Had an estimate scheduled for next week. Actually, just kept putting it off because, life. Now I was paying for procrastination with everything I owned. That's when I pulled out my phone and did what any normal person would do. Texted the family group chat. You know the one. Me, Mom, Dad, my brother Theo, my sister Amanda. Same chat where we coordinate holidays and birthday plans. I kept it simple. House fire. We're all safe but lost everything in the garage and office. Pretty shaken up. Hit send. Partied waited for the immediate responses, the phone calls. Basic human decency, right? Nothing. Read receipts showed up one by one. Everyone saw it. Nobody responded. But here's the kicker. While we're getting shuttled to some Red Cross emergency shelter, I get a notification that Theo posted an Instagram story. Then Amanda, then another from Theo. I'm sitting on a cot in a high school gym that smells like industrial disinfectant, watching my kid try to sleep on a scratchy blanket and my family's blowing up social media like it's New Year's Eve. Then I made the mistake of opening Instagram. First post on my feed. Theo, not just any post, a full carousel of professional-looking photos. Him, my parents, Amanda, all at some lake house I'd never seen before. Matching lake tank tops, fancy drinks, my dad on a damn jet ski. Posted 6 hours after my text about losing everything. Caption: Nothing beats family time. When you find your people, you know it. Hashtag lakehouse, hashtag family first. But wait, it gets better. Amanda's story from the same night. Video of her partying with some guy I don't recognize. Caption: Life's too short for drama. Surrounding myself with positive vibes only. I showed my wife the phone. She looked at it for maybe 3 seconds, handed it back and said, "Well, that tells us everything we need to know, doesn't it?" Then my phone buzzed. Theo had tagged me in his post, not to check if I was okay, to show off that I wasn't invited. The Red Cross volunteer came by with a clipboard. "We need to know how long you'll be staying," she said, "and if you have family, we should contact." I looked at my phone, then at Theo's lake house photos, then back at the volunteer. "No family," I said. "Just us. 3 days in that shelter, 3 days of sleeping on cots that felt like they were made from cardboard and eating whatever donated food showed up. FEMA came through with their paperwork and their 'we're here to help' speeches. The Red Cross volunteers were solid. Brought my kid coloring books and actually gave a damn. You know who else showed up? My wife's parents. Drove down from Bakersfield without being asked. Didn't call first. Didn't wait for permission. Just appeared with a U-Haul full of basics and started handling business. Her dad slipped me a prepaid Visa with $2,000 on it and said, "This isn't charity, this is what family does." But the first person to show up, my buddy Alan, didn't even call, just rolled up to the shelter at 6 a.m. the next morning with his pickup truck full of stuff I actually needed. Work boots in my size, a toolbox, a cooler full of energy drinks, and gas station burritos. "Figured you'd need to get back to work fast," he said, dropping the tailgate. "Also brought this." Pulled out a baseball bat. "In case any of those insurance adjusters get cute with you." The toolbox was his spare. Craftsman tools. The good stuff. "Don't even think about paying me back," he said when I started to protest. "Just don't lose my socket set." He'd also brought a prepaid phone and charger. "Keep this as backup. Insurance companies love to claim they couldn't reach you when it's time to cut checks." That's Alan. Shows up with solutions and mild threats of violence. Meanwhile, my family's group chat stayed radio silent, not a single word, while Theo kept posting Instagram stories from their lake weekend. Day 3, he posts a video of them all laughing around a fire pit. Caption, "Sometimes you got to disconnect from toxic people to reconnect with your real family." Toxic people. While I'm sleeping in a disaster shelter. But the real punch in the gut came when my neighbor Randy stopped by the shelter. "Hey man, weird question, but did you guys plan this lake trip before the fire? Your brother called me yesterday asking if I could keep an eye on your place while you were out of town. Seemed confused when I told him about the fire trucks." Theo had called my neighbor. Thought we were faking the fire to get out of some family obligation. When Randy told him the house actually burned down, Theo said, "Oh, well, stuff happens, I guess." Alan was there when Randy told me this. I watched his jaw clench. "Your brother called to ask your neighbor to watch your house while it was still smoking, apparently. Jesus Christ, Martin. I've met some cold jerks in the army, but that's next level. My wife's family helped us find a temporary apartment. Nothing fancy, 2-bedroom place in a complex that smells like cigarettes and broken dreams. But it was ours for the month, and they covered first and last month's rent without blinking. That's when I started picking up work wherever I could find it. Day labor, handyman gigs, anything that paid cash while we waited for insurance to sort their stuff out. Alan hooked me up with a demo crew he knew. Hard work but honest money, and they paid daily. Learned real quick that insurance companies are basically legalized robbery. Their first offer was insulting, barely enough to replace the drywall, let alone rebuild. But I'd been documenting everything since the night of the fire. Photos, receipts, contractor estimates. Alan had taught me that from his flood experience. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm working a demo job in Burbank when my phone rings. Amanda, first time she's called since the fire. "Hey, so are you getting a big insurance payout from this? Because I'm starting a wellness coaching business and could really use an investor." I hung up without saying a word. She called back immediately. "Let it go to voicemail. Martin, don't be dramatic. It's just business. Family should support each other's dreams." Dreams? My house burned down and she wants venture capital. Most people would have taken the lowball insurance offer because fighting them feels like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall. Not me. I got 3 contractor estimates, itemized every single damaged item, and put together a spreadsheet that would make an accountant weep. Alan helped with this part too. The key was treating it like a business negotiation, not a tragedy. I researched current material costs, got quotes for labor, even found comparable sales data for my tools. Created separate categories: structural damage, personal property, additional living expenses, and code upgrades. Each category had its own documentation packet. The fire report noted probable electrical origin, and I had documentation showing I'd scheduled an estimate for panel replacement. That meant they were liable for bringing everything up to current code, not just replacing what burned. Funny how their offer magically doubled when I showed up with actual documentation instead of just hoping they'd be fair. The adjuster tried to lowball the electrical work, claiming the old panel was adequate. Alan stepped forward, all 6'3" of him, and said, "You calling my buddy a liar?" I pointed out that adequate doesn't meet current code and code compliance was required for any permit. The adjuster signed off real quick after that. First lesson learned: nobody looks out for your interests except you. Second lesson: paperwork beats emotions every single time. Third lesson: having a large friend with military training doesn't hurt during negotiations. 2 weeks later, I'm working a construction cleanup job in Glendale when my phone starts blowing up. 45 missed calls in 90 minutes. All from the family group chat. My phone's buzzing like it's having a seizure. One text from Mom waiting when I checked. Urgent. We need you to call back immediately. It's about $8,000. I sat in my truck reading that message while more texts rolled in. Theo, bro, this can't wait. Call me. Amanda, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Mom, again, we know you have access to money. This is family. Access to money. That's rich. They didn't give a single damn when I lost everything, but suddenly I'm their emergency ATM. I didn't call back. Let the phone keep buzzing while I thought about the last few weeks, how they'd watched my family sleep on shelter cots and said nothing. How they'd posted vacation photos while we figured out how to replace everything we owned. How they'd acted like I didn't exist. More messages kept coming. Theo, Dad's HEO signer, fell through on the cabin loan. They're threatening foreclosure. Amanda, it's just temporary. You know we're good for it. Mom, don't let pride destroy this family. Then Theo sent a photo bank notice. Cabin wasn't some family retreat. It was a $400,000 investment property they'd bought to flip. The CO signer who fell through? Some business partner who discovered they'd been lying about their income. But here's the kicker. The address looked familiar. I reverse searched it on Google Maps. Recognize that lake house from Theo's Instagram posts? Yeah. They'd been partying at their investment property while I was homeless. That's when I called Alan. Remember that lake house Theo was posting from? The one where they were partying while you were in the shelter?
Yeah. What about it? It's the investment property they want me to bail out.
Long pause. Are you kidding me? They bought a $400,000 lake house to flip, partied there while me and my family were homeless, and now want me to save them from foreclosure. Martin, I've seen some cold stuff in my time, but this is sociopathic. What are you going to do? What I did was implement what I now call the nuclear option. But first, I needed to understand exactly how deep this rabbit hole went. I spent the next hour going through their social media with a fine-tooth comb. Turns out Theo had been posting about his real estate ventures for months. Amanda had shared articles about building generational wealth through property investment. Dad had been bragging at his golf club about becoming a property developer. Pride, right? They'd rather watch me lose my house than interrupt their real estate speculation party. But I was the one with a pride problem. More calls, more texts. Then Amanda tried a different angle. Mom's crying. She says, "You're abandoning the family when we need you most. Is this who you really are?" The real kicker came 20 minutes later. A text from Mom's phone, but it was obviously Amanda typing. "Your nephew asked why Uncle Martin doesn't love us anymore. How do I explain this to a child?" Amanda had no freaking kids. They were literally making up fake children to guilt me. I screenshotted that one and added it to my growing collection of nonsense. Then Theo called from Dad's phone. "Martin, it's Dad. I'm in the hospital. They found something on my latest scan," except I could hear Theo whispering to someone in the background. And there were no hospital sounds, no beeping machines, no announcements, no medical staff, just dead silence. And Theo trying to sound like our 62-year-old father. I screenshotted everything, every message, every call log, every guilt trip, every lie. Then I went into my banking app and started cutting ties. Closed the joint savings account I'd opened for Theo's consulting business 3 years ago by draining it to zero. Turned out he'd been using it to fund his crypto gambling. The account history was a nightmare of transfers to Coinbase and Robinhood. Removed my parents as authorized users on my credit card, though somehow luxury dinners and designer handbags kept showing up on the statements. Demanded Amanda refinance her car loan within 30 days to remove my cosign. When she couldn't, she defaulted and the lender repossessed. I froze my credit at all 3 bureaus and placed fraud alerts. Changed every password, revoked all powers of attorney, and removed their online access to anything with my name on it. Set up 2-factor authentication on everything. But I wasn't done. I had one more card to play, and Alan had given me the idea. The nuclear fallout started within a week. Amanda called crying about her car getting repossessed. Apparently, she'd been 3 months behind on payments, and my cosign was the only thing keeping it from being towed. "I can't get to work without a car," she sobbed. "Stop with this nonsense. This is going to ruin my life." I listened to the whole speech and then said, "Maybe you should have thought about that before asking me to invest in your wellness coaching scam while my house was still smoking." Hung up before she could respond. Theo texted me a photo of an eviction notice. Turned out his consulting business was basically him day trading crypto and losing money faster than he could borrow it. Without access to our joint account, he couldn't make rent. 20 years of brotherhood, and this is how you treat me, he wrote. I replied with just the screenshot of his lake house posts. No words needed. But he wasn't done. He posted a public Facebook rant about me. Full blast, no holds barred. Called me a sociopath who abandoned family in their darkest hour. Said I was using a house fire for sympathy, while refusing to help when it really mattered. Straight went for character assassination. The comments were worse. People who didn't know the whole story agreed with him. Your brother sounds like a narcissist. Family is everything. Blood is thicker than water. Alan saw it and called me immediately. Dude, your brother's going nuclear on Facebook. Are you seeing this stuff? Yeah, I'm looking at it now. What's your play? Total warfare. So I made one post. Simple. 4 screenshots. First, my original house fire text, we're all safe but lost everything with a timestamp. Second, Theo's nothing beats family time post from the same night. Third, the bank notice for their $400,000 investment property. Fourth, Amanda's text asking for startup money while we were in the shelter. Caption, some people show their true colors when you need help. Others show them when they need money. These were taken the same week. Alan saw it first and commented, your family makes my ex-wife look reasonable, and she tried to sell my truck while I was deployed. Comments started rolling in fast. Holy crap, dude, that's cold as ice. Your family is garbage. This is insane. Sue them for defamation. Theo deleted his post within 2 hours and blocked me on everything, but the screenshots had already been shared dozens of times. Then Mom called. First time I'd heard her voice since before the fire. Except she wasn't calling to apologize. She was pissed off. How dare you air our private business on social media, she said. You're destroying this family's reputation over money. What family? I asked. The one that partied at their investment property while my kid slept on a cot. That family? We didn't know how bad it was. BS. You chose not to know. There's a difference. Long pause. Then she played her ace card. Your father is sick, has been for months. That's why we needed the money. But you were too selfish to ask why. Click. She hung up. But I wasn't done digging. Quick pause, fellas. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way. Thanks so much for your support. Alright, back to the drama. Spent the next hour going through old photos on social media. Found something interesting. Dad at a charity golf tournament 3 weeks ago, looking healthy as a horse. Posted by the country club with a caption about his hole-in-one. Another photo from 2 weeks back at some barbecue holding a drink and laughing. Either he was faking sick, or he was faking healthy for social media. Either way, someone was lying. Alan came over that night with dinner and helped me piece together the timeline. Your parents are either pathological liars or master manipulators, he said. Possibly both, probably both. So what's next? I'm going to find out exactly how deep this goes. We moved in with my wife's parents temporarily. I fought it at first. Pride, I guess, but they insisted. You have a child, my mother-in-law said. You don't have the luxury of being stubborn. First time in years, someone was actually happy to have us around. My father-in-law and I started building a treehouse for my son that first weekend. While we were measuring lumber, he said something that stuck. You can't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm, Martin. They'll just keep asking for more matches. That week, I formally demanded a full trustee accounting from my parents. My lawyer brought in a forensic accountant, and that triggered a comprehensive audit of the trust's financial records. As a beneficiary, I had the right to see where every dollar had gone for the past decade. What I found left me speechless. It made everything click into place. The trust wasn't some modest family savings account. It was worth nearly $2 million. My grandfather's life insurance, property sales, investment gains over 30 years. And my parents had been using it like their personal ATM for the last decade. Loans to themselves that were never repaid, emergency withdrawals for home improvements and vacations. They'd blown through almost $800,000 of what should have been inherited money. The cabin they were about to lose bought with trust money. Theo's crypto trading account funded with a loan from the trust. Amanda's wellness coaching certification courses. Trust money. They'd been living high on money that wasn't technically theirs while asking me to co-sign their debts and bail them out of their mistakes. The sick feeling in my stomach wasn't from anger anymore. It was from understanding how completely I'd been played. I called Alan and walked him through the documents. Wait, he said. So, They've been blowing your inheritance on stupid stuff for 10 years and then asking you to bail them out when their stupid stuff fails. That's exactly what they've been doing. And the trust is supposed to be for the whole family, according to them. Yeah. Martin, you need to dig deeper. Smells like fraud. Then Theo showed up at my in-laws' house. I hadn't seen him since before the fire. He looked like hell. We need to talk, he said. I stepped outside and walked to the end of the driveway. He followed. We stood under the street light for a minute before he spoke. They're panicking, he said. Dad's talking about declaring bankruptcy. Amanda moved back in with them. Mom cries the whole time. Good, good. Are you serious? Dead serious. Look, I was supposed to come that night when the fire happened. Long pause. I was already in my car about to drive over. Dad called me, told me not to go. Said you were probably exaggerating, looking for sympathy money again. Again? He thinks every time something bad happens to you, it's some scheme to get money from the family. The transmission that went out on your truck 2 years ago. He was convinced you sabotaged it. Your son's broken arm. Thought you let it happen so we'd pay the medical bills. That stopped me cold. They'd been thinking I was running insurance scams and manipulation games for years. Every legitimate crisis in my life they'd assumed was fake. I didn't fight him on it, Theo continued. I should have. I knew it was real, but I turned around anyway. Then he hit me with something I wasn't expecting. I moved out last week. Got my own place. I'm done with them too. You didn't change, Martin. You just stopped letting them use you. He pulled a folded envelope from his jacket. Mom wanted me to give you this. Said it would explain everything. He set it on the ground between us when I didn't take it. You ever want to grab dinner and talk? Really talk? I'm around. Then he walked off without waiting for an answer. But before he got to his car, he turned back. Martin, they've been lying about a lot more than you think. The trust documents, you should have them audited. I opened the envelope later that night. It wasn't an apology letter. It was worse. 3 medical bills with Dad's name on them. Oncology clinic, radiation therapy, some specialist I'd never heard of. Total costs in the 6 figures. At the bottom, Mom had written, "This is why we needed the money." He didn't want you to know. But something didn't add up. The dates on the bills were recent, but I'd seen Dad at that golf tournament just weeks ago. Plus, if he had cancer and needed expensive treatment, wouldn't insurance cover most of it? Then I remembered something. I was still listed as a backup contact on Dad's insurance through his work. Logged into the portal and pulled up his explanation of benefit statements from the past year. Every single medical visit was documented there. Treatment ended 2 years ago. Clean bill of health. The recent bills, all for routine follow-up scans and consultations, completely covered by insurance. Out-of-pocket cost, less than $500 total. But then I found something else. A post Dad had made on Facebook 6 months ago about being cancer-free for 2 years and feeling blessed. Complete with photos from his celebration dinner. Tagged location, that expensive steakhouse downtown my parents had manufactured, a medical crisis to guilt me into giving them money for their failing real estate investment. They'd used Dad's old cancer diagnosis, a real thing from years ago that he'd beaten, and presented current routine care as an emergency. I called Alan, told him everything. Are you kidding me? Nope. They tried to scam me with fake medical bills while I was rebuilding from a house fire. Martin, that's not just shitty. You could probably press charges for attempted fraud. The call came that afternoon. Dad's voice shakier than I'd ever heard it. Martin, I need to tell you something. Hospital sounds in the background, beeping machines, distant announcements. But now I knew he was there for a routine scan, not emergency treatment. We made some mistakes, he said. Financial mistakes. We thought the cabin would turn around quickly, but the market shifted. We're deeper than we planned. How deep? If we don't come up with $40,000 in the next month, we lose everything. The house, the cabin, all of it. $40,000, not the $8,000 they'd originally asked for. They'd been planning to hit me up for more money once I'd proven I was willing to help. He continued. You've been carrying this family for years. I thought you were weak, trying to buy love, but you were just trying to hold us together. Long pause, heart monitors beeping. If you never help us again, I'll understand. I just didn't want to go without saying it. I was sitting on my in-laws' back porch, watching my son play in the treehouse we'd built, listening to my wife laugh at something on TV inside. I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was just done. I know about the trust, I said. I know about the real estate scheme. I know Dad's cancer is in remission and has been for 2 years. Silence. Then the sound of a phone being hung up. That was the moment I knew there was no coming back from this. But I had one more move to make, something Alan had suggested when I told him about the fake medical bills. You should document all of this, he'd said. So I started a file. Every text message, every voicemail, every false document, built a timeline of their lies and schemes. Figured I might need it someday. 6 months later, my wife and I bought a small house outside the city. I'd been working 7 days a week, construction during the day, welding classes at night, building up skills that couldn't be taken away or borrowed against. I registered an LLC, Martin's Metalwork Services, opened a business checking account, bought a used work truck with proper toolboxes and a welding rig in the bed. Started bidding on small commercial jobs, handrails, security gates, custom brackets for contractors. The business was growing faster than I'd expected. Word spreads quickly in construction when someone actually shows up on time and does clean work. I landed a contract to fabricate all the stair railings for a new office building, $15,000 job that would take me 3 weeks. Alan helped me set up the shop properly. We built custom storage racks for steel stock, set up proper ventilation for welding, even installed a small crane for lifting heavy pieces. The shop looked professional, felt professional. Then I spotted something interesting in the local real estate listings. That lake house Theo had been posting from, it was showing up in pre-foreclosure signals that I'd been tracking through a local investor network. An asset manager I knew mentioned they were looking for quick buyers with cash for distressed properties. I put together a due diligence packet on the property, comparable sales, inspection reports, title research, the works. Connected the asset manager with a real estate investor I'd met on a job site, guy who specialized in distressed properties. The investor was interested. We structured a deal where I got a flat consulting fee for the introduction and research, $5,000 for bringing them together and providing the analysis, legal, ethical, and profitable. My parents lost their investment property to a guy I brought to the table. They'd never know I was involved, but I'd know. Sometimes the best revenge is just good business. We broke ground on an addition to our new house that spring. I poured the concrete pad myself with help from my father-in-law and Alan. Used a transit level to get it perfect. Checked dimensions 3 times before the concrete truck showed up. Set the anchor bolts by hand, making sure each one was plumb and the right depth. You know what I like about concrete, Alan said while we smoothed the surface with a screed board. It's honest. You either do it right or it cracks. No middle ground, no negotiation, no family drama BS. The framing went up fast once the concrete cured, pressure-treated sill plates, engineered lumber for the floor joists, and I did all the metal connections myself. We're not hiring contractors, building it one beam at a time. No loans, no timelines, just sweat and steel and patience. My son picked out paint colors for what will be his workshop when he's older. Red like Iron Man, he said. My wife started planning where to put her art studio. Alan comes by most weekends to help with the heavy lifting. Doesn't ask about my family, doesn't offer therapy sessions. Just shows up with coffee and starts working. That's real friendship right there. Theo texted occasionally but kept it light. Work updates, nothing personal. He'd found steady work at a machining shop and seemed to be keeping his head down. I kept him on unofficial probation. Steady job, no asks. At least 6 months minimum before we even consider meeting up. He seemed to get it. Meanwhile, Amanda's wellness coaching business folded after 3 months. Turns out Instagram followers don't automatically translate to paying customers. She moved back in with my parents and started working retail again. But I was building more than just an addition. I was building a fortress, financial, legal, and emotional. Nobody was ever going to use me like that again. It's been a year since Dad's hospital call. A year since I discovered they'd tried to scam me with fake medical bills. I never asked how their financial situation turned out. Never followed up to see if they lost the house. Figured if it was serious, someone would let me know. If it wasn't, they could deal with the consequences they'd created. The addition is finished. Nothing fancy, just solid construction on land we actually own. The soil's terrible for growing anything, but it's ours. I work 6 days a week now. Metal workshop, construction gigs, building custom pieces for clients who pay on time. My son has his own room now, complete with the red walls he wanted. He's already planning what tools he wants to learn to use when he's older. My wife's art studio gets morning light through the windows I installed myself. She's never once suggested I should reach out to my family. Never implied I was being too harsh. She lets the silence stay silent. People ask about my family sometimes. I just say we're not close and change the subject. Everyone has a version of that story. Mine just happens to include a house fire and attempted fraud. I don't check their social media. Don't know if they lost the house where Amanda works now, whether Theo kept that machining job. And I don't want to know. Not out of anger, just complete indifference. Then, last month, something else came to light during the ongoing legal proceedings. The forensic accounting my lawyer had ordered months earlier had uncovered something that went way deeper than anyone expected. "Martin, I need you to sit down for this," the lawyer said. "We retrieved your grandfather's original will from his attorney's files. The probate was never actually opened when he died. Turns out the trust I'd been listed as a beneficiary on that was all. According to the original will, the one we lodged with the court last week, I was supposed to inherit 75% of my grandfather's estate directly. The other 25% was split between my parents. My parents had never created a family trust. They'd created a fake trust document and convinced everyone, including me, that the money belonged to the whole family. For 28 years, they'd been stealing my inheritance and using it like their personal piggy bank. The forensic audit found $800,000 in unauthorized withdrawals over 10 years, but it wasn't embezzlement from a family trust. It was theft from my inheritance. Money that had legally belonged to me since I was 19 years old. We've filed for an emergency injunction to freeze their assets, the lawyer continued. We're seeking a constructive trust on any property purchased with your money. The civil claims include breach of fiduciary duty, conversion, and accounting. With interest and penalties, they could owe you over $1.2 million. My parents would face criminal charges, but that process moves slowly. The civil case would likely settle within 12 to 24 months. Any assets bought with my money, including that damn lake house, were part of our recovery efforts. Martin, are you still there? I was still there, just trying to process that my family hadn't just betrayed me during the fire. They'd been stealing from me for most of my adult life. Theo texted me that evening, first message in months. "Did you know about the inheritance thing?" I replied. "Found out today." "Did you?" "Hell no. Mom told us Grandpa left everything to the family. I had no idea it was supposed to be yours." "Jesus, Martin, they stole over $1 million from you." Long pause. Then another text. "I spent your money, the crypto trading, the lake house parties, all of it. I'm so screwed." I stared at that message for a long time. My brother had unknowingly spent my inheritance while I was working construction jobs to pay for his mistakes. The irony was almost funny. The lawyer says anyone who benefited from the fraud could be held liable. I texted back, "You might want to get your own attorney. Are you going to come after me?" I thought about it. Theo had been a jerk, but he genuinely didn't know the money was mine. He was guilty of being a spoiled brat, not a criminal mastermind, and he'd been clean at that machining job for over 6 months now. Get clean, stay clean, and we'll see. I called Alan and told him the whole story. His response was exactly what I expected. "Jesus, that's like advanced level jerk behavior. I'm actually impressed." Long pause. "Then you buying a boat with the settlement money? Probably a bigger workshop."
Maybe some land outside the city where I can really expand the business.
"Good choice. Boats are just holes in the water you throw money into." "Speaking of which, you want me to drive by their house and flip them off for you? I've got nothing planned this weekend." That's Alan. The lawyer called back 3 days later with an update. "The criminal investigation is moving fast. Your parents hired some cut-rate attorney who's basically telling them to plea bargain. They're looking at felony theft charges. And the prosecutor wants to make an example. What about the civil case? We'll probably settle. They'll lose everything. The house, any remaining assets, retirement accounts. You'll get most of your money back plus damages. Could be looking at $1.5 million when it's all said and done. $1.5 million. From nothing to well off because my family tried to scam me during the worst week of my life. Here's what I learned that I wish someone had told me years ago. Sometimes the people stealing from you are the same ones convincing you that you owe them something. They'd spent 28 years making me feel guilty for not giving them more money. Money that was already mine to begin with. The house fire didn't just burn down my garage. It burned away the illusion that I owed these people anything.